Death Stranding has many major characters, each with their own incredibly impactful and in-depth backstories. With each one being so interesting in their own way, their tales help piece together the strange and complicated lore of the world of Death Stranding. Using a mix of in-game cutscenes and a pre-written script, this series will cover each major character to help you understand their roles, their past, and their lore. Welcome to the story of Death Stranding. On November 9th of an unknown year, Sam Porter Bridges was born to Lisa Bridges and Clifford Unger. During pregnancy, Lisa was unfortunately rendered brain dead after an accident, and Cliff sent Sam into the care of Bridges scientists in an effort to save his unborn son. Although Cliff knew of the Bridge Baby experiments, he did not know of the company's true intentions. Bridges intended for Sam to be used as the first official Bridge Baby used for their new communications network known as the Chiral Network, and for this he would essentially be sacrificed. Cliff would not see his son again.
They're moving your son to a new facility tomorrow. You'll never see him again. He'll serve as the foundation of a new communications network. A sacrifice for a nation that no longer exists.
When he found out about this, he attempts to escape with Sam, but fails, and ultimately both of them are killed. More information about this story in Cliff's episode. When the deceased infant Sam appears on the beach, Amelie finds him and brings him back to health, patching up the bullet shot in his stomach, leaving a permanent cross scar that you can see on him throughout the game. As a result of being resurrected, he was gifted the ability of repatriation. This makes Sam a repatriate, which allows him to return to life after death once his soul is sent to a place known as the Seam. Whoever visits the Seam is connected via a strand to their body, allowing them to follow the strand and reconnect their soul to it. However, being a repatriate also meant that Sam was no longer viable to be a Bridge Baby, and so was adopted by Bridget Strand, who then raised him as her son, giving him the name Sam Strand.
There you are. Welcome back.
You understand his days as a BB are over, now that his connection to the other side has been severed.
It was me who cut the cord. So yes. Take him out of the pod. I'll raise him as my own.
Growing up, Sam started suffering from dooms, giving him horrible nightmares and frequently finding himself on the beach, unable to find his way out. Amelie, the same woman who gifted him repatriation as an infant, would always be there to calm him and assist him in finding his way back out of the beach. Naturally, they formed a bond as time went on, and Sam crafted a quipu for Amelie. He carried this from the real world to the beach to give it to her as a gift, which she accepted and wore around her neck. After some time, Sam joined Bridges to work as a porter. His dooms and him being a repatriate proved an extremely useful asset. As well as this, however, he suffered from aphanphosmphobia, which meant he would refuse to make any physical contact with another individual and would try to keep a distance on any interactions. It is in this time that he met Lucy Strand, a psychotherapist who helped him try to overcome his condition. Time went on, they fell in love, they married each other, and conceived a child, who they intended to name Louise. Unfortunately, Lucy became a subject to the nightmare of doom sufferers due to being the bearer of Sam's child. Because of this, she committed suicide via drug overdose, taking their unborn child's life with her.
I found some records from 10 years ago. A death, sudden, in the middle of a town. Young woman in the prime of her life. Nobody knew until it was too late. A void out. Her husband, who was a member of Bridges, had dooms. He tried, but he couldn't get to her in time. The whole town was wiped off the map, leaving nothing but a big crater and him, because he was a repatriate. People wanted answers. Did the man hide his wife's body on purpose? The only survivor was the only suspect. He was easy to blame, and people did.
The body was left to necrotize, and Lucy's death triggered a void out in Sam's town, leaving him as the only survivor due to him being a repatriate. This made him the primary suspect of this incident, and due to feeling unnecessary guilt, he decided to leave Bridges and go on his own path as a porter. Sam worked as a freelance porter for just over a decade and earned himself a very high reputation, earning him names such as the Great Deliverer. We join Sam at the beginning of Death Stranding on his way to deliver some cargo to Central Knot City, where he meets Fragile of Fragile Express in a cave when being hunted by beached things. Sam still suffers from asymphosphophobia, which Fragile quickly learns when she grabs his arm. Upon completing this delivery, Sam meets Igor Frank, a member of Bridges' corpse disposal team, who asks for his help in necrotizing a suicide victim to the nearest incinerator. On the way to, they are ambushed by BTs, and just before Igor is killed, he throws Sam his bridge baby. Igor gets devoured by the colossal BT, and another void out is caused. It is after Sam wakes up in a private room in Capital Knot City where he meets Deadman, a former coroner and now doctor within Bridges. Deadman tasks Sam with delivering morphine to the dying president and Sam's adoptive mother, Bridget Strand. Here, Sam meets Di Hardman, CEO and director of Bridges, but Sam and Bridget are left alone in the room after a brief conversation.
Amelie.
Amelie.
You remember Amelie went west. Took her 3 years to cross. She's trying to rebuild the country.
Still going on about that, huh?
You're the one I wanted to send, Sam. Time's running out. Help Amelie. She needs you.
We don't need a country. Not anymore.
We do. Alone, we have no future.
No, America's finished. Bridget, you're the president of jack shit.
Sam, listen to me. So you are willing to help me?
No,
I love you, Sam. I'll be waiting for you on the beach.
Bridget tries to convince Sam to follow Amelie to the west to reconnect America, but Sam dismisses this as he has no interest in rejoining Bridges and reconnecting America. Before she dies, Bridget reaches onto Sam and forces upon him a contract to continue westward. The reason the Bridges corpse disposal team was formed is because if a dead body is left, it will suffer from necrosis, which is a process that creates more BTs. Due to the president's death, it is now in Sam's hands to deliver her, and in addition, Igor Frank's now non-functioning bridge baby to the nearest incinerator. He succeeds, but BTs start manifesting around him while at the incinerator, so Sam connects himself to the apparently non-functioning BB to find out that it does indeed function and that he can now see BTs, despite being warned by Deadman that Dooms and BTs are a bad combination. Upon returning to Central Knot City, he is briefed by Die Hardman and a holographic Amelie about the westward expedition. He learns about Amelie being captured by homo demons and that he must reconnect cities from east to west in order for Edge Knot City, all the way in the western region, be connected to the chiral network as one. Sam is still dismissive of this mission, but after being inspired by Amelie, decides to take the task so that he can save her. Port Knot City is the main city Sam has to reconnect, and here he meets Higgs, the leader of the Homo Demons, who tells him of Amelie's status as what is known as an extinction entity. After Sam reconnects South Knot City to the chiral network, he is taken away in a supercell and transported to a World War I battlefield. Hunted by the combat veteran who is trying to reclaim the BB strapped to Sam's chest, Sam escapes into the trenches and fights him and his reanimated soldiers. When Sam returns, he finds out from Mama that almost no time has passed at all when he was in the supercell.
Chiral density increases in regions connected to the chiral network, but the numbers are way higher than I projected.
That's bad, right?
Yeah, more connections means more chiralium. Early on, Bridges did acknowledge this as a potential problem, so I installed special limiters in the Cupids to keep the chiral levels in check. Looks like the limiter on yours is faulty, though. the supercell and the temporal phenomenon that you experienced may be related to all this. Well, that's all pretty crazy, but at least you're not. Timestamps in the logs support your story. Best guess I can muster is you were trapped between two different spacetimes.
Two different space times.
HQ is doing a deeper analysis.
Sam properly meets Mama now after visiting her lab, who tasks him to go to Mountain Knot City after discovering a defect in Sam's Cupid, the tool Sam uses to connect waystations and cities to the chiral network. Mama has the hardware to fix and upgrade it, but her sister has the software, and she is at Mountain Knot City, which is the next place to connect to the chiral network. Lochner, the person in charge at Mountain Knot and Mama's sister, dismisses Sam and denies him permission to connect the city. We will cover all about Mama and Lochner's story in their respective episode. Much later, another supercell traps both Deadman and Sam, as well as BB, in another battlefield, this time in World War II. After fighting his way through the streets of the battlefield, Sam is reunited with BB, who he now refers to as Lou, and Deadman in the sewers. He again defeats the combat veteran who has revealed himself to be Sam's father, Clifford Unger. Sam connects even more knots to the network, including Hartman's lab, and repairs a chiral relay at the edge of the region. As Sam reconnects Edge Knot City, he encounters Higgs again, who further harasses him about Amelie's status as an extinction entity, and destroys a colossal BT that he summons. As always, Higgs and Amelie's full stories are covered in their episodes. Sam heads back east, but just before reaching Lake Knot City is caught by yet another supercell, this time in Vietnam versus Clifford again. Upon his defeat, he whistles a lullaby to Lou that Sam also whistles back to show that he knows the lullaby. Cliff refers to Sam as the bridge to the future before very quickly disappearing, and Sam wakes up at Port Knot City and learns more about Amelie and Bridget via a hologram of Die Hardman showed to him by Deadman. Fragile tells Sam what she learned from Higgs when she was with him on the beach, and that now he must travel to Amelie's beach in one last-ditch effort to avert the 6th Death Stranding, otherwise known as the Last Stranding.
Just so we're clear, if I want to stop the Last Stranding and come back in one piece, I need to go to her beach and talk her out of it. That about right?
Correct. As cliche as it sounds, you're our only hope. Though quite frankly, I doubt even you can change her mind.
If you can't make her see reason, you'll have to kill her. And if you kill her...
You'll save the world, but you'll be stranded outside of it. Forever.
I'll talk to her. Maybe she'll listen. But with the shape the world's in, it'll only be delaying the inevitable. Still, if it buys us time to try and build something better, a new lease on life, at least for a little bit, well, I can think of one woman who made the most of a chance like that. Nothing lasts forever, not even the world. But we gotta keep it going as long as we can, right? Patch the holes, change the parts, all that. So we can say we had a good run, that we lived. Back when we met at the cave, the only thing I cared about was making it to the next sunrise. Sure as hell didn't care about America or the future. I was living a lie, hung up on past regrets. I was broken. But somewhere along the way, I started changing. Started meeting people that made me think that maybe it wasn't all bad. People that put their faith in tomorrow, and in me. That kept the lights on, and waited for hope to arrive. So I gotta deliver, for their sake.
Even if it means you never come back?
Fucked if I do, fucked if I don't, right? Take care of Lou.
I will.
Couldn't find a working still mother east of Port Knot City. Kid's done enough. No more.
All right. I'll do my best to nurse our little one back to health.
Sam is left with two choices at the end of this conversation: to watch the end of the world with her, or to use Die Hardman's leftover revolver to sever his connection to her on the beach and postpone the last stranding. He ultimately decides to embrace her, as she helped him many years ago when he was young and stranded on the beach himself. Sam Porter Bridges has stopped the last stranding. Brought back to the world of the living by the crew, he attends Die Hardman's presidential inauguration, but leaves when he focuses attention on Sam. Before he leaves, he talks to Deadman, who once again holds Lou, telling Sam that it is not functioning anymore. Deadman suggests to Sam that if he really wants to continue bonding with Lou, that he could disconnect himself from the chiral network and remove Lou from its pod, despite that being a direct contravention of an executive order. When Sam reaches the incinerator, he places his cufflinks and Lou on the table, but retrieves Lou at the very last second before it can be cremated.
Wake up. Come on. Wake up! Come on, wake up. Lou.
Sam takes Lou out into the rain and sunshine with no effects of timefall, and continues his life with Louise, his daughter, as he always wanted.